leaders play the long game. There's going to be ups and downs, challenges and achievements. We're going to face personal rejection. We're going to hear uncounted no's, right? No matter what comes your way, ride the wave.
Welcome to Shift, an exclusive podcast by DSN. I'm your host, Blake Mallon, and this is where high-performing entrepreneurs and experts share their most powerful shifts in mindset, skill set, and strategy to help you accelerate your business and amplify your impact. I challenge you to be present, open your mind, and let the shift begin. Welcome back to Shift. I'm your host, Blake Mallon, and our guest today is an absolute rock star in the world of direct selling, or subtle social selling, as I've heard her call it. I love that. A former educator, actually a kindergarten teacher, who at one point in her journey found herself on the brink of losing her job. Fast forward, currently today, the number one earner and number one team builder in her company, where she absolutely shattered records over 1 billion. That's with the B, I'm not stuttering, in cumulative team sales using what she calls her multiply method. I can't wait to dive deeper into all of that for y'all. She's an author of a best-selling book, Rock Your Network Marketing Business. And beyond all of the professional success and accolades, she's a devoted wife, an amazing mother to a beautiful 8 and 3-year-old. And I love her passion for giving. Her husband, and her family right now are building orphanages overseas, providing housing, training, nutrition support to those in need. So beautiful. So today we get to dive into her journey, glean insights from her experience as a coach, consultant, keynote speaker, and absolute champion of the direct selling profession. Please help me welcome to the show, Sarah Robbins. Sarah, how are you doing?
Well, hey, Blake, I am so excited to be here. And I tell you, it is true what you said. I am head over heels in love with our profession. It's changed my life, and I know so many. So I'm so excited for this conversation today.
Well, I gotta start off by saying, is that a surfboard right behind? Am I looking right behind you? Like, is that a surfboard? Where are you right now?
It is. When you live on the beach, and I have 2 boys that you can tell they're California boys now, originally from Michigan. We are taking the little golf cart down on the beach, having fun. So we traded a backyard for sand, but let me just tell you, it truly is awesome to be outdoors all the time and enjoying sunshine versus all the snow.
Well, I love it. You might already be my favorite. I know you're in California right now as well. Where are you tuning in from?
Yeah, we're in Southern California. We actually moved here during the pandemic from Michigan, and we actually intended for this to be a cold weather place. But then when you're trapped in your house and there's nowhere to go, we're like, this is actually really nice. So we decided to just plant ourselves here, start our kids in school, which was awesome. And I would trade. Now, I know that this might create some controversy here for some people who are listening, but I would trade snowflakes for sunshine every day.
Well, I can relate. So as you might know, or maybe not know, we're neighbors. So I'm in Pacific Palisades right now. So we're in Southern California. So maybe we'll talk about, why we're not crazy living here. Yeah. Maybe the rest of the world thinks we're crazy, but
it's true.
I love it. Lean to your side real quick. I want to see the. I thought so. We got a Chanel logo on the surfboard. I can already tell this is going to be a unique and awesome conversation.
All right, let's do it.
Well, Sarah, I appreciate it. I know you and I went back and forth. We had a chance to cross paths, both speaking recently at a big industry event. You did a phenomenal job. And I know we have similar social circles, and I think you're kind of friends and colleagues with some of our past guests. So been excited for this conversation, but let's go ahead and rewind the clock. So okay. Did I hear correctly? 17 years in direct selling?
17 years in one company.
So I just want to fact check this for everybody listening. So 17 years in one company, one path. I just want to pause, number one, and highlight and just applaud that in a time today where it feels so difficult just to stay the course, stay the path, so many different distractions. I love that. I know there's going to be a lot to learn. Let's rewind the clock 17 years ago and take us back there. Educator, teacher, kindergarten, what made you make the leap?
Yeah. So I was not looking for direct sales. I think it found me. I was a teacher, loving my job. I actually didn't ever dream of doing anything different. It was the recession of '08 that caused me to look at different things. Although I was the most requested teacher in the building, teacher tenure trumps performance. And so, because we were in Motown, Motor City, we all know what happened in the automotive industry. I mean, things were tough. Families were moving, schools were closing. I was facing the loss of my job every day. And so, initially, I decided, you know what, I'm going to look for extra income just in case I lose my teaching job. I really want to be able to make ends meet. So, I started freelancing for different companies. And one of the companies that I was freelancing for, so I was doing events for skincare and cosmetic companies to earn an extra $20 an hour in case I lost my job. They were actually looking to make a shift themselves. And what was that shift? They called us one day. They called my mom and I and said, hey, good news, bad news. We're both freelancing for them. Bad news is you will lose your job as you know it. I was like, awesome. Another, lost job opportunity. They said, but the good news is we have another opportunity for you. We know that we can reach more people. We are leaving retail. We're going into direct sales. Do you want to do this? Now, I just want to be really honest because I love when people hear my story and they're like, did you ever dream? I'm like, no, it was actually the opposite. I knew nothing about direct selling except for the fact that I said I would never do it. Anything with the word sales attached to it, I was like, that's not me. I was a shy kindergarten teacher. I chose that population, that age group for a reason, because that was easy conversation for me. Okay. I was also young and broke. I had 19 cents in my bank account. So I didn't have a network. It was my mom. Her name is Chris. She's the master distributor of our company. Her and I are the first two distributors in our company. She's a savvy, successful serial entrepreneur. And she was like, Sarah, I know the stories of people who go the distance. And she was like, we would be crazy not to do it. Now, I'm the compliant kid because I'm firstborn. So that worked in my favor. I listened to my mother and I said, yes. And that's really the story of how we found our company and this industry.
I mean, it's a pretty remarkable story. And if I'm hearing or understanding the way you're explaining it correctly, so it was your first leap into anything like this. Was it your mom's first leap into anything entrepreneurial at that time?
She had been direct selling before. And by the way, I will just say what I love about her story is she always worked side gigs, side jobs in order to make ends meet and to be home with her three daughters. So she worked, but it was always entrepreneurial, always from home. So she had tipped her toe into direct sales before. And again, she was the one who really saw the vision of what it could be for our family.
What's that been like? 17 years now, kind of side by side with your mom empowering people. What's that like?
Well, imagine this. It's not just my mom, it's my sister too. Now, here's a cool story, okay? And I just want to share this because I'm glad you asked. My sister joined us 10 years later.
Oh, wow.
Somebody hearing this and they're like, so-and-so said no to me, okay? It's not personal rejection, it's personal preference. People's timing can change. It wasn't until she was pregnant with her son that she was like, I want to do for my family what you're able to do for yours, work from home, and have it be more on my time and my terms. So it's my mom, it's my sister. And what I will tell you is this, it's so awesome because we've been able to experience all of this together, whether it's company trips, travel, etc., conventions. It's just been amazing to be able to experience it alongside of the people that are absolutely closest to me. It's been so much fun. We have so many funny stories too. I mean, when we started, we had no trainers. We had no training. We didn't even have a compensation plan. We didn't know how we were going to get paid. That's how new we were. That's how the first two we were. We were definitely first. So there were so many things that so many lessons learned, so many moments where we failed forward. But the reality is we just caught the vision. We never quit. And it's been an honor to be able to do it alongside of two people that I love the most.
I love this story, inspiring. And it's so funny because today it's sometimes the first thing out of a new entrepreneur's mouth is, well, how does the commission plan work? Or how are bonuses going to flow? Or what does this mean? And your story kind of highlights the fact that literally you couldn't explain it because you didn't have it, but you made the leap anyway because you believed in the vision. You believed in what you guys could create.
I always say we had products and we had our excitement. That was it. I mean, it was really like we had this great product, but we were so excited about the possibility of what it could be. And we built on sheer excitement. So I have a funny story to tell you, Blake. In the beginning, we had weekly meetings. I don't even know how we knew to do that, honestly. We were like, let's just invite people to a coffee shop. It was in our church basement every week. And we're going to show them, what this all is and what it could be. And every week we would say, invite your friends next week to learn more. And that's what we did. Little did we know, we created a really simple system that really just focused on inviting, right?
Mm-hmm.
We would stand there with the products and we would share. And by the end of that month, we had 300 people join our team. And it was so funny because our one of our founders' husbands actually called us and said, like, we were in a pre-launch phase. He's like, you guys need to slow down. We actually weren't prepared for this. So it's like, as we were figuring out what we wanted to be as we grew up, so was our company. So we all just kind of grew in this together, which is so fun.
What would you think if you were to look back and kind of distill down to maybe like the top 3 things that made that start work? Not having clarity, never doing direct selling, a first leap for a company, not having a training, not having a systems, not even having a rewards plan printed out that you could explain, yet you share a story of taking action in 300 people. If you were to distill that down, what mattered most during that season?
Yeah, the very first and foremost was this idea of pressure promoting you, right? Like I'm sitting here and I'm going, there was an immediate need for me. It wasn't just like, well, let's see if this works. I'm like, I have to make this work. So I really became a student of our profession. I remember when we didn't have a company convention, we didn't have training. I would go to industry events and I'd watch these leaders on the stage who had great stories. And I'm like, I got to figure out what they're doing. I remember actually approaching Donna Johnson, who is one of my mentors in the business. Mm-hmm. She's been in her company for decades. She's a legacy leader in our industry. I have so much respect for her. I remember literally, this is so embarrassing now. Keep in mind, I was in my 20s when I started. I remember chasing her into the bathroom and I was like, I need your help. I have a question for you. And she's probably like, what on earth is this young girl doing? But she was so sweet. She actually took me under her wing. As my company, again, was just trying to figure all the things out. We didn't have vision trips. We didn't have anything like that, anything like we do today. And Donna said, I'm going to host a little get together for my team. We're going to do a retreat. And she said, you are welcome to bring them to my home. And she cast vision for them and showed them really what was possible, which was so incredible. Again, didn't charge me a dime, wasn't, giving people a business card. It was literally like planting the seed of, here's what's possible. And that changed everything for me. So the second thing, it really is mentorship. I have had the good fortune of having amazing mentors in our industry, whether they're mentors that I've invested with, right? Like being under like a coaching or whatever the case may be. I know nowadays there's things like masterminds, et cetera. One of them actually was so crazy. We went to a Bible study locally at our church and the person leading it was Doug Firebaugh. He does coaching. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit, I'm going to listen, I'm going to learn again. I became a student of it because there's no other way that a shy teacher with no network, no systems, no training was going to do it unless I was trainable, right? I was coachable. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's one of the things my mentor, Leslie, says. She's like, people always hear your story and they say to me, what was the one thing? And she said, there was coachable. And she's right. It was being coachable from the beginning. And then the last thing was just that long-term belief. For me, that's everything. I truly believe leaders play the long game. Listen, in every business, especially in our business, there's going to be ups and downs, challenges and achievements. We're going to face personal rejection. We're going to hear uncounted no's, right? And it's having this idea. One of my good mentors, Christy Gibbs, would always say, ride the wave, right? Like no matter what comes your way, ride the wave. The business can be cyclical, just like our economy. Things are going to change. We're going to have to pivot. I mean, there's so much learning that comes with that. But again, I've always had this idea. It's like lead with legacy in mind. Leaders play the long game.
What does that mean to you today? What is long term? What is long game? When you say that, where is your mind going?
I look at everything in my life, every relationship, everything. It's like long-term investment. When the newness wears out, right? How do I change? How do I shift? And I've been saying so many times that I do coaching, I'm like, listen, you don't need a new opportunity. You need a new commitment to the opportunity that you have. And
Say that again. Say that again. Say that again.
yes, you don't need a new opportunity. You need a new commitment to the opportunity you've been given. That to me, I'm sitting here going, it doesn't matter. Like the products, the pay plans, listen, every company thinks that they're going to ride this wave, right? And that everything is growth and good vibes and happy times from here. But the reality is we've been doing this long enough. I have, my mentors have to know that that's not always the case. Again, ups and downs, right? And so for me, it's how do I change? How do I shift in this season? Where are areas that I need to grow? For me, it's like as a leader, I never stop bringing on board new people. I never stop getting them off to a successful start. I never stop sponsoring myself. I have never taken the foot off the gas in 17 years, right? So that to me, it's my name on the check. At the end of the day, I'm responsible for that and stewarding that really well. And also too, when times change, it's digging back in. It's having conversations with leaders, right? To be able to say, okay, so how do we start fresh? How do we lead in this season? And so, for me, leadership is everything too. It really is.
I mean, it's so powerful, and obviously 17 years in one path and the level of success you are at today, right, is a testament to what you're describing. And I love the way you frame that. In my mind, when you were talking, it's kind of like learn to reinvent yourself where you are, right? Or learn to grow where you're planted, which is the opposite of so much of the behavior we see just in entrepreneurship over the last 5-10 years. Go a layer deeper for me. So take us back maybe to that first challenging season.
Okay.
I don't know when that was in your journey, where maybe stuff wasn't going great. You were in a dip or a plateau. It could have been easy to go change your environment, find something new, create a new story outside. What made you look inward, and how did you decide to reinvent yourself where you were? And are there any tips you can give to maybe a listener who feels like they're in that season right now?
Yeah, so I will just be so transparent. Our former CEO said, Sarah, I think you quit more than anyone else in the company. In my early days, she's like, I remember you calling me when I was on a ski hill and you're like, I think I'm going to quit. And she's like, okay. And again, I was young. I didn't have any business experience. Now I look back and I'm like, I would have never done that, but I did that. So that's just the truth. And I remember even one time sitting down, and it was just a challenging season, honestly, just in leadership. I was going through some tough stuff. And I remember just going like, man, I didn't ask for this. It would have been easier if. And then I was like, wait, easier being a teacher, paying bills out of my penny jar? Like, hold on, and then all of a sudden it was like just this moment where I was like, this isn't about you. This is about the other people that will be blessed through you. Like other people's blessings are tied to your yes, but it's not just a one-time yes. It's continually doing the thing, whether we feel like it or not. And I really decided, you know what, I'm leaning into my leadership. Like I'm going all in. It's not like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I do remember, by the way, this is a pivotal moment. This just came to my mind as you asked me this question. I remember actually walking into that Bible study, one of my mom's team members. So I'm not even on her team. So she doesn't have any skin in the game, any reason to make the phone call to me. And I had really just kind of gone back and forth. I actually share this story in my book, and she calls me and she's like, hey, do I have permission to just be honest with you? And I was like, yes. And I'm thinking she's going to give me a business plan because I really admire her in business, and she's going to, give me some tips or training or whatever. And she's like, you just need to make a decision. She's like, you're going through the motions. I see you doing one thing, but I hear you saying another thing. And she's like, I believe once you commit and you go all in, and as my mom would always say, be like a dog with a bone, don't let go. She's like, that will be the time that really changes everything for you. And I was used to, by the way, in those beginning days, being Chris's daughter. I never had, a name in the company. I used to be the least highest earner, just to be honest. If ever there was a title and I could walk the stage, here she is, the least highest earner. There I am. So, I really, really, really struggled. And I literally then at that moment, that was a major shift for me. I had to sit and get real with myself. And as much as I was committed to the professional development, I needed to lean into the personal development. And wow, like that was a big one, but it changed not only my leadership, but my life. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to learn to lead and I'm going to lead. And I started hosting team trainings and calls, opportunity calls weekly. I've done those every week for 17 years. It's amazing to me as well. But,
and it started with that one moment. So that was a decision moment.
It was a moment. Yeah.
And nobody said, okay, now it's your time. Nobody took out a magic wand and said, boom, Sarah, you're a leader. It wasn't a title that you gave. It was a decision that you made in that moment to grab a ball.
That's it. And we all have the opportunity to do that. We do. Again, I'm nobody special. I have no experience doing this. I had no network. There's nothing about my story that's like, that's why she was successful. It's actually quite the opposite. And by the way, even let me address this too, because I've heard it before. Okay, well, yeah, you started in the beginning of your company. Do you know how many people started in the beginning of my company with me? Where are they? Mm-hmm. The only two people that are still there that started in the beginning were my mom and I. That's it. They're all gone. They left. They didn't have the vision. They didn't have the commitment. They didn't ultimately make that decision.
What I heard from your story 17 years ago, you went outside your company bubble to learn from other people and other companies at the time that were succeeding. And today, I think that's the norm, maybe, or close to the norm. But 17 years ago, that was opposite. 17 years, I remember I was around where I was like, it's a bubble. Don't go look over there. Don't go talk over there. Everybody was afraid that you might get cross-recruited into something else.
It's true. Isn't it funny? We are the only profession that we're like, don't learn from people that are actually doing it. Yeah. Like, if my son wanted to play baseball, I'd be like, who's today's Babe Ruth of baseball? Like, let's find them and go learn from them. So it was funny. It was so against the grain for me to show up and go to these events and sit up front and take the notes and build the relationship. And man, these are relationships that I still have today. And these, again, are my mentors in the business. So again, it's like, if you want to build a successful sales team, find somebody who's done it, and put yourself in the right room, surround yourself by the right people. And now it's just so amazing. Like, I look at top leaders. I have so many, because, my business is majority female-based company. I have so many top leaders who are women that, like, we just collab and share ideas, and it's the best.
I'm smiling at just the truth of these statements. And I'm inspired that we are in a season where I think, as a channel, the intention of collaboration, right? The desire and spirit of collaboration is finally overcoming that competition or scarcity feeling.
Let's say something on that, because this is so important to me. I'm like, okay, whenever I do like a kind of like a generic event that's open to other companies, I do a free webinar, et cetera. Okay. I get on there and I always kind of give give your digital signature by saying you're not going to spam, solicit, sell, sponsor, DM, whatever, like, hey, we're all here to build one thing. That's our business. It's so interesting how much fear was surrounding that scarcity mindset for so long. So now it's like, I've been in my business 17 years. I've been doing coaching over 5 years. Do you know I've built my business? And I know, again, this is an anomaly. I have not recruited one person from another company. Not one. There's not even one. There's 0 people. Not one. But now I know it does happen. But the thing is it's like, that doesn't have to be the standard. Like, we set the standard. And that actually, for me, has opened up so many opportunities for me, in addition to what I do in building my business, because we've lived in this place of abundance.
Well, I just want to say hats off for being an early adopter, even 17 years ago, when you probably didn't even know, right, that you were. And now you being here, right? You being here away from your team, away from your family, away from your kids to pour into the channel is a testament of the era we're in. I'm just excited about it. You use that word mentor a lot. For those, because I can hear people's thoughts, right? They're listening right now. They're like, I don't have a Donna Johnson. I don't know where, I don't have a mentor. I don't have that What advice do you give to someone who's on their journey that doesn't feel like they have this mystical mentor in their life right now? Where do they find it? What is a good mentor, right? How does someone go get the person that's going to help accelerate them?
First and foremost, I just want to challenge us to think about this thought for just a moment. My mentor would always say, be the leader that they're looking for and be the leader that you're looking for. It's like when I didn't have all the things, I was like, well, I need to learn how to create the things, create team culture, create community, develop some systems, et cetera. So I think first and foremost, I challenge us to not your business is not sponsor dependent. It's really system dependent. If your company provides a great product, great paycheck, and a place anywhere, somewhere that you can plug in, there you go, right? So again, sometimes we have to get more back to that personal growth side of things and take some ownership. I do believe that that's one part of the conversation. Now, the next is putting ourselves in the right room. So whether it's at your company events, and it may not be, listen, it doesn't have to be your upline. I love when I see some of the girls in our organization, like to have sideline sisters that they lock arms with. They have accountability partners. They're kind of bouncing back things off of each other, but also too, it's like diving into books, going to, industry events where they can, getting into the right circles of friends and people, even in other companies, so we can learn from one another and grow in that way too.
I love that. And obviously very wise advice. And I know there's a lot of people out there that can take that and go become that person with a decision like that moment you described, right? Or find the guidance that they need from people that are further down the same path. Let me flip the script for a second, because you were the person that found the mentor, but now you are the mentor, right? Is there any qualities or expectations that you really look for in the people that you're really pouring into, right? I'm not talking about maybe a social media community or a Zoom, but I mean the people that you are really pouring your life, your wisdom, your experience, your energy into. What's most important to you and where you put your mentor time?
Accountability and activity. So for me, I'm like, okay, I can do the 50%, the heavy lifting of teaching you how. And then it's up to you to actually take and implement. It's been said in our industry, it's like work with the willing, love the rest. And I'm like, let's take it a step further. So where I do the kind of that one-on-one coaching, it's with those that are actually working in their business. But what do you do for the rest? You develop systems for them. You create culture and community, a place where people can feel good and be a part of all the great things that are going on. But also too, it's up to the other person. So the other part of the relationship is being accountable. And then, of course, putting it into action.
I love all of that. You also mentioned, I think you said sideline sisters. I've never heard that. I think that's great. I kind of translate that into the power of a peer group, right?
Yeah.
So it's awesome to have mentors you look up to. It's awesome to be a mentor and mentees that you're reaching down and helping up. But I also love this kind of shift in the recognition of the power of just being around peers, right? The right peers, people that are colleagues, right? Alongside of you, your circle, so to speak. What guidance would you have for people that maybe are right now defining that circle, or maybe they're auditing their circle or trying to figure out what type of peers do I really want around me to make me better? Is there any guidance you're giving to your team on around kind of designing or defining your peer group?
I think even more powerful than let's find an upline leader, right? To pour into me. Like people think that's going to be the key to the secret sauce. I'm like, create an accountability pod. Actually find people who are working at your pace, who have similar goals as you, and set a weekly touch point, a weekly talk time. Now you have to set some boundaries and some guidelines, right? Like this is not a place to be negative. Let's solve the problem. Like let's come up with a solution together. And let's agree to a certain level of activity. So we actually did this with some of the leaders in our organization. And we're like, okay, so what is the level of activity that we agree that it's like, this is a standard that we all agree upon, we all can do no matter how busy the day. And we're like, okay, we're going to do one purposeful post on social media. We're going to do one purposeful prospecting message to find a new partner or new customer, right? And then we're each going to agree that we're going to host some sort of an event, whether it's local or virtual, each month. And we just created a text thread. And we would say like done. And if there was any context of like who we talked to, or maybe somebody brought on board a new customer, we could share that there and celebrate that there. And let me just say, it's very interesting. And this is with women who are over a decade into the business. Again, it's rekindling, reigniting our own excitement, our own passion, our own purpose. It changed the game for us. And we saw people's funnels full again, right? Their prospecting funnels full and bringing on board new people into the business. You know what that did? It ignited a new level of excitement in our business too.
17 years, Sarah, there's some seasons, right? Yeah. There's some ups, there's some downs, there's some peaks, there's some valleys. Kind of fast forward to where we as a channel, right, in industry or profession are today. It's an interesting season. Yeah. I'm curious, from your experience, your vantage point, leading the size of community you're leading right now, what are the shifts you're seeing today? What do you see right now that are the big things that are different than maybe 5 years ago or even 3 years ago? What are you seeing? What are you experiencing? What are you feeling in terms of shifts in our profession right now?
I think that we really, over the past few years, just experienced something that the world never did before, from a global pandemic to, talks of a recession to all of a sudden we have this social selling business and we're stuck behind a computer screen. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. We really looked and we were like, for us, two major parts of our onboarding process were, well, one of the parts was, creating their list, right, of who they want to talk to and then launching with an event. And now, wait, that changed, right? And so we got behind the screen and we started doing these events. And for us, our products are like high touch, but also too, that's how people experience the community. And by the way, we're not a party plan company. We're not an events-based company, but I just encourage this for anybody looking to launch somebody new. Like, these events, they were where belief was built, where people did their first promotion, where they were able to earn some of their first, commission, where they got their first crop of customers. And all of a sudden we're doing it behind a screen and people got sick of screens, just to be honest. So for us, it's like, now we're in the season where we're like, we know this works. And I think sometimes, as an entrepreneur, we need to be willing to pivot, but then there's times where we just have to stop and say, what's working, what's not working, what do I need to start, stop, and continue? And that's something I talk about together with our leaders, is what do we need to start doing? So it's like, what are the things we know we need to pick back up, right? What do we need to stop doing that's just not making sense or creating a lot of work or a lot of noise? And what are the things that we know, this is working, but we just have to keep doing it? What are the things that we need to continue to do? And for us, we said we have to pick that piece back up. And it was amazing to see just the level of excitement in our field again, the level of excitement and commitment that we as leaders had, to our business again. So I think it's really, everyone taking a hard look and having honest conversations and saying, what, yeah, it might be easier not to go anywhere and to run my business, my social selling business behind a computer screen. But is that what is best for the business? Like, what are some things that we actually have to get back to as well? As it relates to kind of where we're at, just like holistically, I'm actually really excited for the opportunity that we have to offer during this time. Look, my business was built in the recession of 2008. We grew in triple digits during that time, right? So I heard Rashonda Pratt, she said, today I am somebody's answer. It's like, when I pick up the phone, I'm like, today I'm somebody's answer. And you are. And so the reality is we have a lot of hope to offer to people. We have a lot of solutions through our products. And I think really leaning back into that. And again, having that long-term, long game mentality, right? That, okay, so these are seasons. And again, where do I need to shift?
I love those categories. What do I need to start? What do I need to stop? Right? What do we want to continue? How often should we kind of do that audit? Is that an ongoing? Is that something, well, hey, every 6 months we should kind of like do our little awareness check? Where do you think we need to ask ourselves those questions?
Yeah, I love to just quarterly. So even when our team, we get together and we start planning, our training calls, et cetera, we plan for 90 days. because we go, okay, let's talk about what topic we want to cover in our weekly, trainings. Who do we want to have speak? And we're making that schedule. We're not building so far out, like we can actually kind of contain those conversations and the growth. And then also too, it gives us the opportunity to say, so together with our leaders, we do these calls and we come together. And I said, one of the things that I want to hear is, how is your team loving the calls? How are their prospects or their potential customers and business partners? How are they responding? What can we start, stop, and continue, right? What can we do better to serve, our customers and our team as well? So I think it's really important, but it's not just me who does it. We do it together as a leadership team.
It's so important because it's so easy for all of us just to fall into a routine, and continue to do it just because we've always done it that way. And it's especially easy when what we were doing worked for so long, so well to continue to do it, right? So it's such an easy question, but a powerful exercise. Are you willing to share a couple of the things that maybe are on your start list or on your stop list or on your continue list, like right now?
Yeah. And I will say too, I want to just say something about and this will lead into this question, was listen, I built in the days where you could post on Facebook that you were having a hot dog for lunch and you got 1 million likes, right? So it was like, we were in this place that it was like leads were just coming out of nowhere because everybody saw your stuff. And social media has changed so much. So it's like, we really have to, be willing to just say, with social media changing all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what worked for me then doesn't work for me now, So one of the things that I am starting and also continuing, honestly, it's just always a process for me, is just keeping my hand in the game, continuing to really lead from the front, lead by example. I am unwilling to train my team on anything that I'm not doing myself. So for years in the company, my name has been at the top of every leaderboard. And it's not because I'm trying to earn the purple pen, let's say. It's because I'm training my team to earn the purple pen. So guess who needs to be holding that purple pen? It's me, right? So it's like just continuing to be a student of the profession, to committing to a level of activity and accountability myself. And, just recently I just stopped worrying about things that were beyond my control and just really focusing on what are the areas of impact that I can make in the business and taking accountability for that piece, just a daily habit, a daily decision.
So good. And I challenge everybody listening to this right now. Don't let this be heard on a podcast and then you forget as soon as we end. Go do this exercise with the people you're working with every single day. I think it's so simple, but so profound. Now, Sarah, you mentioned social media a couple of different times there, and we are in a season of shift. How much of your business, and I say you, not just you personally, but you and the extension of the community you're leading, really begins on social media today?
So much. There's so much from team building, right? Within groups, et cetera, threads, et cetera, but also too with prospecting or inviting. So sharing our products and our opportunity with people online. It is a big piece of our business. We have some people on our teams who that's the only way that they build business. Some people, it's kind of like a hybrid, a little bit online, a little bit in person. But for sure, over the past several years, we're seeing that it's a critical component to building. But again, so much has been changing.
So go a little deeper there. What are some of the things that you in real time today are seeing are no longer working, or maybe just no longer working to the extent they were once working? And then the opposite side of that question, like what are the things you are seeing that are working today when it comes to social?
Social, like the biggest thing is just selling. And it's not selling like we think, right? Selling. So when we think about, we've all heard of AI now, right? And it's like, okay, so what is being combed throughout, the feed, throughout your posts? Again, I'll use very basic terms to basically determine with the algorithm who's going to see it. Well, here's the thing that we know to be true. It can be not only links. So it used to be we could post a link in our post. We could put a link in the comments to get around that. Well, you can't do that anymore. But it's also language. So a little challenge that I give my team, I'm like, okay, so do two things. Post a post about your business. Doesn't have to be selling anything, just a happy post, a story. Now post a picture about your babies or your grandbabies or your fur babies. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, cricket, boom, that thing lights up, right? And so we know that social media is a social platform. And so they're kind of like a jealous ex-boyfriend. They don't want people going somewhere else. They don't want people leaving that platform and clicking on the link and going to your website, right? So we've actually had to change it. So it's how do we fix it, right? So that's the question that you asked is like, so what can we be doing? I've actually challenged, within our coaching programs, I'm like, hey, so what happens if kind of turn that upside down? It used to be where you would hear from your upline, a post today keeps leads coming your way. But now let's change that and say, but not all of them. And actually very few of them should be about your business. So what I mean, we're going to really think about giving great value. So let's say that you're in weight loss. Okay. I don't sell weight loss, but let's say that you're in weight loss. What are things that you can talk about to build an audience, right? Because if you want to sell something, you need more people to sell it to. So when you sprinkle in the post, they're like, I want to try that, right? How do you build an audience? By giving value. So what types of things are they interested in? Well, they probably want to know how to get their water intake. They probably want to know about how to get some high protein snacks. They probably want to know about, some healthy meals on the go, some travel tips, etc. Motivation, inspiration, education. And really when we're the place, like, here's the thing. When you're the place that people check on purpose, you don't have to worry about changes in the algorithm, right? People are going to be like, I want to see what Blake posted today. I always love what he posts. So what did he post today? They're going to check you out on purpose. And that bypasses a lot of how did the algorithm change in my favor? If people know that you're going to give them value, but we also know people do business with those they know, like, and trust. So when you sprinkle in maybe 1 out of 10 posts, right, that post about your product, or maybe it's just even subtly selling, maybe you're using the product in your stories, right? And you're talking about something else, then they're like, I view you as an expert in this arena, or somebody that I even just trust in this arena. I'm going to ask you, what is that? So it's really just kind of changing the way that we think about social media. Listen, I get why people do it. We do it because it feels good, but it actually doesn't work. We're checking off on a to-do list that we've talked to our business. But the definition of insanity is when we do the same thing over and over again, and we keep getting the same result. So it's truly about giving great value.
I wrote down as you were talking, Sarah, become the person whose account people want to go to. I think it's, yes. I mean, it's so simple, right? But like, if you're the person that's pushing out the right content to the right focus, and people are searching you out to say, hey, I want to see what Sarah, that's great. I mean, that's going to work for any algorithm on any platform. How much of this has to do with this whole niche conversation, right? The last 3 years, I feel like every social media expert, you got to find your niche. You got to know exactly, who they are. You got to know exactly what they want. You got to craft your content to speak to your niche. If you're everything to everybody, you're nothing to no one. What's your take on this whole understanding your niche conversation? What does that mean? What guidance are you giving to your community around this topic?
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because I've heard so many social media marketers, they're like, niche down so much that you're only talking about one thing. And I was like, man, my social media would be so boring if I was just talking about the one thing that I sell. But we have to keep in mind this. We don't just sell products. We also sell an opportunity for people as well. We showcase it, right? So I can focus on being on the entrepreneur life, the work at home mom life, right? And again, just sprinkling it in as we go. I always say your product is one solution to somebody's problems. One, right? So again, keeping that in mind as we're serving our audience with great value. But again, if I was selling weight loss, I'd be thinking about, if my goal is to get people inside of that niche, what type of content would they enjoy? How could I, this is the question I always ask with social media. I always say, how can I make his or her life easier or better today? And that's the question that I ask every single time. I always say, pause before you post. And if you can't answer that, and it's about making you feel better, like you checked it off the list, back to the drawing board. Your product is only one solution to the problems that person is facing. So how can you make their lives easier or better that day?
It's a great question. I've watched and participated in a lot of trainings and courses and experts, and I've never heard anybody simplify it down to just that one question. When you're talking about problems for your community, do you know and actually just list like, hey, here's the top 10 problems that our target niche is looking for? Like, is it that specific for what you're teaching, or what's your take on understanding? Like, if someone's hearing this for the first time and wondering, what are those problems? How do they begin to answer those questions?
I think a great thing to do is polling your audience, and asking them, what type of content do you like seeing from me? Why did you start following me in the first place? And also, too, I think it's called Answer the Public. Like when I'm looking to create a new YouTube video, et cetera, it's like you can type in a topic and it tells you the most common questions that people are asking. And you can actually build content from there, which is so powerful. But it's really thinking about it like, who is your avatar? Who is your average customer? What types of things that would they be interested in? Another thing that I teach people to do is checking their insights on social media. Now, if you don't know how to do that, okay, because I always want to speak to the person who maybe is like, what does that even mean? You go and do a little YouTube search, how do I check my insights on Instagram or even Facebook, right? And if you change your profile to professional mode, which again, you can Google how to do, that'll teach you how you can check that. And it's really interesting because it actually shows you two things. Number one, who's following you and where do they live? What is their age, et cetera. So I can actually target, I know the majority of people who follow me, nearly 90% are women who are middle-aged. So I know if I do the post that's, catering to teenagers or to a gentleman about such and such product that I sell, right? Maybe not the best use of my time. It's not because I don't want to serve those people, but again, I'm trying to, the goal is of social media to expand your reach and get greater engagement, right? The second thing that it shows you, which is so awesome, what type of content are people interacting with? So which post did they love of yours and which one just, fell to the wayside? And then that kind of gives me a clue of, okay, they loved this, so I'm going to kind of create more of that as well.
It's a different way of approaching how most people would on social media, right? I think for most people that are using social media, as just a personal tool, it's what am I excited about talking about? What am I passionate about? What am I thinking? What am I feeling today? What am I experiencing? What I'm hearing you say is to kind of take it off you and put it on them. And who are they? What is their problem? What questions do they have? And how do you solve it? What percentage of your energy is on like content that you're passionate about? Like Sarah's excited to talk about this today. Or I'm feeling this today, your experience versus what you think is going to benefit them or help them in some way. Like, how do you balance I'm excited to talk about this versus this is what they really need?
Tiny, their interest, not yours. That will go a long way. There's times where I even just want to post a cute picture of my kiddos. There was one where like my baby was learning to walk. I'm like, this is so cute. The world needs to see. The reality is they probably would have just liked it to just like, show me love. But I thought about, okay, how can I serve somebody with this? I'm going to take it a step further. And I'm going to talk about the baby steps that we make in business, right? And kind of like just really just took a second. Again, it's not hard to just pause before we post and think about how can this actually serve somebody versus am I constantly, just selling or even just showing, right, my life and all the things. It's like, how can we actually create value for others? And I want to give you a great example of a girl on my team. Her name is Crystal. Crystal actually has built an incredible business by posting funny reels. So we know people love to laugh, right? So now you don't have to be funny to be successful. I'm not funny at all. In fact, anytime I make a joke, people look at me like, I'm confused. Am I supposed to laugh? But this is just her, right? Like I'm more educational, motivational, all that stuff. She is just funny. And she does these funny reels with her husband and grew this social media account to hundreds of thousands of people. She was recognized on the top leaderboard in our company at a certain level of leadership. So it was huge to be a top leader performing at that level. And everybody's coming up to her like after the event and they're like, what are you doing? Thinking she has some secret strategy. She's like, I just create content that people enjoy. And when I sprinkle in, the opportunity or the products, people are like, I want to be a part of that. And so instead of chasing people on social media, people are coming to her. So again, maybe being funny is not your thing. That's okay. It is not me. I am not going to pretend that I'm funny, but it's like, what is your thing? There's a woman on our team, Patty, who actually does live cooking shows. Our product has nothing to do with cooking whatsoever. Like there's no way to even like make that connection. But all of these women come to watch Patty cook live because women, a lot of women, not all women, not me, they love to cook. Okay, so they're coming into the side of Patty's kitchen. She's building an audience. She's cast a wider net. So when she posts about, an eye cream, something that those people could actually benefit from, they're like, I want to ask Patty about that thing. And so think of it this way. It's all about just casting a wider net.
So bring these worlds together, finding your niche, right? Solving their problems. It's about them, not you, but simultaneously showing up in an authentic way, right? That is you.
Yes.
Make sense of this for me, right? Make sense of this for me. How do these pieces come together?
Well, listen, I just say this. I don't believe in being a slave to social media. The second that it no longer feels like I just don't want to do it. So I am authentically me. I am in every way showcasing all of the things that are important to me. And I don't really edit myself. I just don't. There's times where I show up, it's like business in the front, party in the back. I brush the front of my hair and who knows what's going on back there. And I'll go live. And I just show up with this heart and this mindset of like, who am I here to serve today? It's like, throw perfectionism out the door. Perfectionism just equals procrastination. It's more important that we show up and we serve people. And so for me, I'm like, talk about all the things that you're passionate about, but how could you bring people into the conversation? Conversation is the currency of social media. How does the algorithm actually measure engagement? It's the amount of people that are talking on or about your post. So instead of talking at you, how can I bring you into the conversation, get you into the comment section so I could talk about this really awesome pink water bottle? Everybody loves them, right? And I could just say how cool I scored the pink Stanley mug that everybody was talking about at Target, right? But instead, I could take a moment, I could pause, and I could say, okay, how could I change this post? Again, let's say it was in weight loss and serve my audience, right? It could be a cute little selfie of me. Like, I'm so excited that I scored my first Stanley. But the big question is how are all of you getting your water intake, right? What are you putting in it? Electrolytes, et cetera. Like, tell me, because I'm having a hard time. How many ounces do you recommend, right? Like asking a question, inviting people into a conversation.
I mean, this really is like a masterclass in social selling psychology, Sarah. Just so you know, I mean, you are dropping gold here. And I love that you're not just giving us frameworks, which you are, simple things we can apply, but you're teaching us how to think about it so we can do it ourselves. And I hope you all are getting this because this is gold. I'm going to ask one more and then we can shift off this topic. Obviously, there's listeners from all different products and companies and services and categories, which is amazing that we get to bring so many different types of products and services to the world through what we do. But one thing we all do have in common, I think everybody listening to this right now, is really inspiring and empowering and equipping entrepreneurs. And I'm curious if you were to kind of take everything you just gave us, but apply it to like the new entrepreneur or the person that wants to make that leap in the season one right now, what problems do you really feel are what the new entrepreneur, right, or the person that might make that leap is seeing, feeling, experiencing, or thinking about that maybe all of us might think about helping them solve?
Well, I think, there's two questions that you can ask is what solutions do you provide through your product, right? And then be thinking about what problems could that potential customer have? Why do they need your product? And kind of creating a brain dump there. And then on the opportunity side of things, what problems are they facing, right? Are they trading hours for dollars, their time for someone else's money? Maybe they're fearful. I mean, I know, like strawberries here in California are about $1 a piece, right? And it's like, are they feeling that like pinch at home where it's like, man, I need something different, maybe not in place of, but in addition to. And how do we showcase that? And through social media, it's telling a story. It's not buy my products, join my team, but can we welcome new people? Can we share their why? and really what the business is doing for them, not focusing on income, but impact. Like, in part-time hours, my business is allowing me to do this, right? And so I feel like, in sharing these stories and showcasing these examples, right? That's one of the most powerful things that we can do. For my sister the other day just did a call, and she's a former teacher. And we were able to tell her story again of just, this is a former teacher. Here's what she has to say, how the business is impacting, so many people, or how the products are impacting so many people. And so again, I think it's just showing up and showcasing some really great stories too.
I mean, I can go all day long just hitting you with social media questions, and I know the listeners out here are getting value from all of this. So thank you for everything you just gave us. But I got to ask, because at the start, I mentioned a really big number. Like $1 billion is a big number. It's like a big business, right? $1 billion a year is a giant business in any way you look at it. And you're sitting at that point, right? 17 years ago, a teacher making the leap without a rewards plan, now generating a community doing over $1 billion a year in sales. Any guidance or perspective to the person that's sitting there going, man, maybe one day I'd love to hopefully have a business even close to that, like kind of demystifying this whole vision of what it takes to build something that big?
Yes. So actually, I do a keynote called Demystifying the Big Builds, and it's surrounding this model that I've seen several times now by going to industry events. And I remember going to an event, it was the mastermind event, and it's not a mastermind, but that's what the event was called. And they've done this several years in a row. They brought the top leaders of their company onto stage. They asked them how long, and by the way, I do want to back up and say this: different products, different pay plans. Okay. So that's not the difference maker, right? Different products, different pay plans. They asked them, how long have you been in your business? How many people do you think you've talked to? How many people have you personally sponsored? And of those, how many kind of pockets of leaders really create a big wave in your business, right? And it's so interesting because, again, everybody's background was different, right? I was shy. I was a kindergarten teacher. They had been in their business from 5 to over 35 years, like my mentor, Donna, right? They had had hundreds, sometimes thousands of conversations just to find a few who really captured the vision and went the distance. So again, it's really about you have two choices, right? You can give up and assume this doesn't work for you, magically works for those people that you see on the stage. Or you can assume that you're working through your own set of odds, and you'll actually find out what those are after they unlock, right? So it's really this idea of giving it the time that it takes every day, but the long-term time as well. I love this quote by Biz Stone, co-founder of Twitter. He says, timing perseverance in 10 years of trying eventually makes me look like an overnight success.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was year one, it took me 3 months to sponsor my first person, right? It took me a really long time. So again, what was the difference maker for me? I was committed to activity, but then giving that activity the long-term time that it takes. My mentor, Donna Johnson, always says this: Sarah, I know handfuls of stories who would have been uber successful if they simply didn't quit.
Sarah, I want to leave time to go into any other closing thoughts you have or anything we didn't cover. I want to be mindful of what you're giving us. It's already been amazing, from the mindset and your story and the lessons, all in between through the seasons, reinventing where you are, growing where we're planted. I mean, that in itself, right, can help so many people get to the next level or break through their plateau. You just gave us an absolute masterclass in social media and things we can do immediately, right, to make an impact. Before we get into kind of closing thoughts in any direction you want to take, is it okay if we just do like a super rapid fire round? This is like 3 questions, really quick. I've asked most guests these questions. You can answer in like one word or one statement, first thing that comes to mind, no wrong answers. Is that okay?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so Shift, right? Name of the show, Shift. And you can tell, and even the kind of questions I'm asking you, like, I'm just fascinated by this concept of everything starts with a shift. It starts with a perspective or a mind shift that then leads to a change in behavior and ultimately results. And you've already given us a ton of shifts just in your stories, right? And in your experience. But my question is, if you were to sum up maybe just one of the most significant shifts, perspective mind shifts in your professional life, right? That's helped you go from that kindergarten teacher right on day one to who you are today. What would you say is one of the most significant perspective shifts?
Play the long game, never quit on a bad day or in a bad season. Just like everything we're seeing happening in the world, business is cyclical. So play the long game, have long-term vision, really leading with legacy in mind.
Same question, personal life. So Sarah, the wife, the mom, everything you do in philanthropy and giving back right now. So in your personal life, same question, a significant shift.
For me, I've just been focused so much on time. Time is the currency of a relationship. How do people know we love them? It's by the time that we spent with them. I've had so many opportunities to scale and do all the things that I'm like, right now in the season of a little 8 and 3-year-old's life, a scale means sacrifice. I'm good. This is part of the reason why, though, like, I just have to say that I love our business model so much. It is a gift. It does allow us to be fully present. And so for that, I'm just so incredibly grateful.
Well, take us there for the third question. So the third question is that kind of aspirational, visionary question on behalf of our whole profession. Right now, you hold the power to snap your finger and insert one belief shift, one shift in the mind, in the heart of every single coach, consultant, distributor, promoter, representative, whatever we call ourselves all over this channel. If you could give everybody that gift of one shift right now, instantly, what would you give them?
Yeah, no pressure. It's just really that you have everything that it takes. Man, if a formerly shy kindergarten teacher in her 20s can do it with no network, but be coachable and plug away at it, you can too. Do not quit. You have everything that you need inside of you.
Beautiful. And I love that you're glowing when you say that, because we can tell that that's coming from the heart. And that's why you're building the community that you're building and the movement that you're building today. Sarah, we have covered a lot. And I know anybody listening to this, whether they're brand new, just getting started, or they're in that season where they have to reinvent, or there's someone that is the next story of someone that built $1 billion plus movement. I know there's value in everything you've already given us. So thank you for that. Is there anything else on your mind or your heart that you want to go into before we round out? Anything to reiterate that we've covered, or a topic we haven't touched on? Anything you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I just want to affirm that, everyone that's listening here that's in this industry, you are in the right time, the right space, the right place. Pick one, stick with one, build it to the top, change so many lives, because it truly is a tremendous, tremendous gift. I believe so much in our business and our business model. I feel so called in my heart to just really redeem this profession and to see us, build the next wave of leaders who, again, I believe are listening today to this show. You're in the right place. You're in the right time. You picked your company for a reason. Stick with it. Get great at it. And watch to see the rewards that will be reaped, not only for you, but in the lives of people in which you sow.
And I hope everybody receives what you just said as their own. And it is a gift. And you are a gift to all the people you're impacting today. You've been a gift to all of us. And for everybody listening, now you have the ability to share the gift. I know you'll get something from today's conversation to move you forward. And a single shift can really change everything. The right shift at the right time in someone's moment can be that decision factor. And you just sharing this conversation might be that very thing that your colleagues, your friends need right now. So we're here to make an impact. Help us get the gift out. Feel free to share this with those that are on your mind or your heart. You know all the places. We're everywhere. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. You can watch Sarah. You can see the surfboard on YouTube if you want to watch the video on YouTube. You got to see the surfboard, on YouTube.
as well, and continue to help us make the impact and raise the tide across the channel. So Sarah, thank you. You are a light. Thank you for pouring into us today and everything you shared. And thank you for showing us what's possible, starting from day one without even a rewards plan on print to what you're doing today, inspiring others. So appreciate your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Such an honor.
Until next time, everybody.